People activating. It seems like we care more than anyone else.
We care a lot, you could say.
We're the first people to review this, which means our opinion matters the most. That's what
Where
that means.
our opinion is for sure the best. It took a little longer than a half hour because, like, fucking all of a sudden got a phone call. It's like I can't just hang up on them and be like, "Excuse me, I'm reading a comic book right
You
now."
don't understand. We got to review a comic book.
You don't understand. It's Common America. This fucking it's a big release.
It's big
In
deal.
fact, that one thing I've really been liking is it's that Bon Desune fucking format where the sort of the French European format where it's like 60 pages or maybe 65, 60 to 70 basically, that allows you to tell a more complete and enclosed story. And again, each one of them, each one of the volumes of Common America has done that very well. And it kind of goes to show that it's a good format for telling a story, is the kind of 60-ish page format.
Especially if you can manage it. If you can manage to
Yeah.
draw 60 whole pages instead of telling everyone it's going to be 80 pages and then only giving them 40.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, here's the thing: 40 pages would be decent. That would still be a fucking decent thing if you're actually telling a story, especially 40 pages worth of story. That's one thing in the Common America book, is that even just the first 20 pages are actually 20 pages of things happening, of story, of interaction and engagement. Whereas in a lot of other comics you'll see, the first 20 pages are just splash pages of people standing around and just dumping exposition that is really dry. There's no emotion or character
Yeah,
to them.
they're either talking or it's like a single image of somebody throwing a punch while giving basically like 5 paragraphs of text.
Yeah, just paragraphs over a splash page. Look at all the implied action. That's what you get in pretty much everyone else's comics, and that was one of the biggest reasons why. And a lot of people are really noticing this now, is that Common America stands out because when you read it, actual things are actually happening. And we have some people in the chat, and I'll just throw some chat messages up. Rob Kuro saying, "Good volume, much action and drama. Seeing a team of heroes with varying powers, and Lancey's back up to his old tricks." Low Pro saying, "Volume 5 had Eric Canetti speed pacing, no breaks." That's true. Both of these are actually pretty good points, and something I wanted to bring up
All
is
gas, no
that
brakes.
yeah, the all gas no brakes issue of Common America, Volume 5. But yeah, those in a way, it's sort of the change up in this issue is that now they're an established business, whereas the first 4 volumes are kind of this it's the origin tale while also having a sort of establishment of the villains in a way, and their interaction and their engagement and how that all plays out. That's the first 4 volumes, and it also kind of including Black Ops 4, which was that tie-in crossover that they did with themselves. Shenyongo mentions, is Lionsgate going to go full Can't Kill Dave, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But and I don't expect this to be a really super long review. One thing I will say right off the bat before we get into more of the meat of the review is Tim and Mark love our comics, and they are available. I didn't link to them, but
Yeah, we
I
should
didn't link
promote
to
our
the
own comics. This is a good opportunity to promote ourselves.
Yeah, I haven't done a video yet about. I probably could. We haven't done any video on our channel because, again, YouTube. I'm never really been that interested in YouTube. But here I'm
Not a
linking
fan
in
of
the.
YouTube. In fact, that's actually one of the things I was mentioning a few days ago, unrelated to any of this, is that YouTube is kind of evil.
Yeah, YouTube itself, it's like if you're actually relying on YouTube, it's funny because a lot of the people, there are a lot of people out there who are like fucking you're selling your books on Amazon, you're the evil corporation. And meanwhile, they're making all of their money on YouTube, or they're saying that in order to build a comics business, you have to have a YouTube following. And the thing is, what they do then to get their YouTube following is they manufacture drama, make up a bunch of lies and bullshit.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
then they
actually,
demand that they be monetized on YouTube, and
yeah,
they get super chats
they
for
basically
their
see it as a
tweets.
crime if they don't get monetized on YouTube. That's the thing. That's the corporate sort of the big two attitude almost, except it's the most corrupt part of the big two, and then they split off from their former big two jobs at Marvel or DC, and now they are claiming indie status. So that's what a lot of other creators do. And again, that's the way that we us, people like Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini and all the others at Iconic Comics, really. Um, that's how we're all the exceptions and stand out from that sort of fake indie attitude. And I noticed we've always pointed out, in fact, again,
We
we
are
were
real indies.
the first to point out that the other issues of the other volumes of Common America always throw in a lot of references, and in a way, the story itself is about that coming up that Tim and Mark had about being
That's
legitimately
actually
indie.
that is one of the other things too. Is like there's a bunch of references. I don't even catch all of them. It's like they'll post about them sometimes. It's like, oh, this is a reference to this old anime or some Legend of the Galactic Heroes, or this is the Sonic pose, and it's like, oh, I didn't even catch that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that those don't override the story. Anyway, there's about 500 things we have to mention in the next 20 seconds, and we're only going to be able to mention just a few hundred of them. So, but again, here's my point though, is that
Kind
Tim
of
and
like
Mark
reading
like
some
our
cold
comics,
water.
and if you want to support the kind of comics that Tim and Mark like, the link right there in the chat goes to the literally chapter 2 Indiegogo. So you can help support that. In fact, we just got more backing. Somebody else just took one of the fucking the wonderful, delightful YCH slots. There are only 2 slots left to have one of your characters put into literally number 2,
You don't
or
have to
literally
either.
chapter 2, or literally issue 2, whatever you
You
want to
want
call
to
it.
just donate to support us.
Yeah, you can also do
That's
that. You can
that's what
get
that's
your
there
name in the
for.
thanks page too. There's a tier for that. But this is the kind of comic that Tim and Mark like reading themselves also, and it's worth pointing that out just up front before we really review and talk about the
I
comic.
kind of also to get further sidetracked, but I did make a certain point today about like the same people who are like, oh man, the old school classics are so great. Like
But yeah, you were talking about like Jack Kirby and like Steve Ditko and that kind of thing. While those people, you were saying that those people who are like, oh, those old classics were great, but their today's behavior, they would be the people who would stand in the way of Steve Ditko or
yeah,
Jack Kirby and
they
try
are
to
they
prevent them
are
from making
they
comics.
are the big executives at the corporation stealing from Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby.
Yeah,
That's who they are.
and especially, it's in a way, it's the people loudly proclaiming what champions they are, of how much they love guys like Ditko and Kirby and stuff. They would be like, if they were existing back then or the equivalent today,
They
they
would
would be
write up
standing
a
in the way and trying
contract
to
to
prevent
steal their money.
guys like them from making those comics.
They'd be the ones writing the contract to get them to take money away from those people.
And
That's
because
exactly
really,
what anyone who's trying to stomp down on an indie today. That's what they are. That's who they are.
and that's another thing, is that well, there's a lot of points to be made about them. We've already made all of them. If you want
Yeah,
to see
this is
more
old
of them,
news.
check out our
Once
Subscribe
again,
Star. That's
years
where
old,
all of our
old
videos
news.
about but just so that we're not mincing words, we're specifically talking about Comicsgate. Comicsgate is the kind of people that would actively
Well, yeah,
and already do work openly to stop people like the modern day Steve
especially
Ditko's and Jack Kirby's from being able to make comics.
especially not to mince words. Ethan Van Sciver, Richard C. Meyer, that Umbrella guy, Yellow Umbrella, Yellow
just
Umbrella
all those
Tug,
people in
and
general who, in a way, they are lampooned and criticized in most of the previous volumes of Common America, as we've pointed out and in fact proven and shown. But there are, the latest issue continues to have, elements of that, because that's part of the overall story. Is Common America is kind of an allegory for Tim and Mark's success. Especially the first issue, but especially now the fifth issue. And the fifth issue or volume is a sort of an allegory of the teams all together and working on all cylinders. And now they have to deal. It's sort of like the Ghostbusters 2, where it's like they're established, they're popular, that kind of thing. But now they have to deal with the next level of the of threats or concerns or new elements of that. In a slight way, not in a very direct way. There's even an element of the groveling that some people in Comicsgate did recently about, how they came crawling to who is the guy, the Pizza the Cuck, the guy who was doing that comic with Nasser, who was just like 2 years late and didn't pay Nasser his cut and just kept the money and bragged about it and laughed about it. And he did that for years. I forgot
he
the
knew
guy.
he could get away with it, and then people started pointing it out, and he's like,
yeah, Comicsgate
"Well,
completely let him get away with that. In fact, they defended him and then like slandered Nasser and lied about him. That Umbrella guy made up a lie where Nasser supposedly made fun of his wife, in some way or another, something that just straight up never happened.
Destroy his reputation.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that they basically tried to prevent him from making comics. Again, another example of Comicsgate trying to stop people and in a way, in that way, successfully preventing some comics from coming out, being released, or a person who makes comics. Nasser basically had to going back to just making books.
And a lot of people don't acknowledge that that it tends to work. If you're trying to stop somebody who's up and comer,
it was Donald
get
DeLay,
their career off the ground, that's a great way to stop them.
Recently,
to destroy them when they're starting off.
Donald DeLay had to very recently, because and only because Common America became successful. If they didn't, if Tim and Mark didn't become successful, Donald DeLay would have never did that groveling apology that he didn't mean, of course, because it was only because of
Tim and Mark's success. Yeah, why do it if they're not successful? Why ever do that to begin with?
And the thing is that
he could get away with it.
That Umbrella guy also did it very disingenuously and that kind of thing. And that was also following Richard C. Meyer's very weird attempt to, it was a stealth attempt to essentially get Iconic Comics to publish his books for him. And, it didn't pan out, of course, because for a lot of reasons. And we've gone into all of those, but also there's a ton of videos about that on our Subscribestar as well.
This isn't even a review so far.
No, that's the only reason why I bring this up, is because it has a sort of it has a slight relation to Common America's existence as a book, but also it has some slight bearing on the story, as I've noticed. And a lot of people don't notice this. I realize, which is good, because it remains to us to be the sole people to notice this and point this out, as well as a lot of other little references and points, and then on its own, the story is able to just get off. The story doesn't rely on references to things people did that involve Tim and Mark or comics or Comicsgate or any of that kind of stuff. So as far as the story, though, again, it's the bands all together kind of thing, where it's the whole team. They've been working. They're successful. It's the Kamen America girls, the Kamen Core, which again sort of points to a kind of a funny play on puns that goes through all of the stories. All of the books have that, and that's Mark. Mark's writing has been really on the ball, just more than ever. Like it was since the beginning of since Black Hops, really, because Black Hops was like cute animals do action things, and the story was slight in those, kind of by nature. It was meant to be
Yeah,
just
it's very light.
action
It didn't
fun.
need to be heavy, and that
Yeah.
wasn't a necessity.
And then Common America comes along, and the story starts ramping up. The storytelling, the
Actually,
writing.
yeah, I have to say, Mark Pellegrini is doing exactly what a writer should do
Yeah,
when their story is really taking off. Is
he's
like,
really nailing it.
yeah,
And
he's taking advantage of all the opportunities for storytelling in what he has.
yeah, and Common America 5 has that the necessary escalation where it's like, okay, now they're a team, now they're established, now they're getting somewhere, so there has to be something else that has to happen. They can't just be like, oh, we'll fight a bit. It can't be like bad guy of the week and just
Yeah,
spinning its
there's
wheels
like
on
a
that.
new threat that's introduced here, and it's like, oh, who's behind it? And it's like, oh, Nero Lansky had something to do with this, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. This is clearly leading from that because
Mhm.
it's also been kind of built up for a while.
Yeah, because all the villains sort of like GI Joe pretty much always had to contend with Cobra Commander and Cobra in some way, so it's like it's always there. Also,
If anything, that was a weakness of GI Joe, where they even had to address it. I remember in the movie, it's like, how did they mess up this many times and are still around?
they still exist.
And it's just like,
They
here
they
comes the big
introduce, yeah,
snake
the
guy.
GI Joe movie actually does that, the same thing,
Yes.
the same way this does,
The
where
G.I.
it
Joe movie
introduces
better,
new things that add then to the old
like
thing.
quick capsule review of the G.I. Joe movie, better than the Transformers movie.
Yeah. Although the Transformers movie had some interesting things, but it was almost like, let's destroy the Transformers, and that
Hey,
now you'll have to take it
you're here to
seriously.
watch a movie version of Optimus Prime, right? That's the reason you came to see this movie in theaters, right? Too bad, because I remember it was like some parody guy who did like a redub of like the cartoon show when Optimus Prime comes back to life. It's like, hey, Rodimus, give me that fucking Matrix of leadership. Should have given this to somebody else. Would have
I
been
should
better
have given
giving it
this
to
to
the
someone
Marx
cool. I should
Brothers.
have given this to the dump truck or one of the dinosaurs. That would have been cool, actually, if one of the dinosaurs became the
Yes,
next
yes,
Optimus Prime,
exactly. Dinobots,
Optimus Rex, something
but
like that.
most
That would have been cool.
especially is just the whole time he's like, you're right, you're right."
Yeah, Rodimus Prime. Okay.
Rodimus Prime, Hot Rod, aka Rodimus Prime, is like, "You're right. I'm sorry, Optimus." And it's just it's just like the exact fantasy of what anyone who liked the show actually wanted, i.e., not Rodimus Prime.
Rodimus
We
cocked.
don't want right. We didn't come to this movie to see Rodimus Prime take over the mantle of responsibility from the actual character.
Yeah, from the well, that's the thing, is like, why kill the main characters that everyone likes in the movie? You're
I
doing
had
the
no
movie.
idea. I
It's
remember
like,
seeing that in the theater. We watched the movie in the theater, and it's like, this is lame. What are they doing? I was 8, and it was like, this is stupid. What is the point of this?
it's like that
And I
joke with
didn't
the
find out the real answer to that until like 5 years ago. Apparently, the toy company was like, hey, we can sell new toys if we make this movie. So
yeah.
you need to get rid of the old ones.
We
We'll
got the
make
new
new ones so
line.
that nobody can have the old ones. How are we going to do that? Just kill them all off.
It's like the South
All of
Park
the old
joke where
characters.
they show the kids Alabama Man, and they just go gay, Liberace gay, all that stuff.
Liberace gay. That's Rodimus Prime.
Rob
Liberace
Kuro
gay.
says, "Is
Gay,
all that
fake, and
true
gay.
about the Transformers movie?" Yes, but the more successful Tim and Mark get, the more dirt under the rug Comicsgate we agree. Basically, yeah, that's the thing, is that
It's more
there's
dirt than
there's a
love.
huge element of that a lot of people are just straight up going to forget.
Yeah, it's pure schizo. It's gone beyond just being like pathetic cuck behavior. It's going into schizo mode,
Yeah.
full schizo, where now these people have to do hypercope in order to square
But
the circle.
it's
And the
also
people
leading
they
to this
defended
weird, like,
were always
disingenuous
shit.
groveling, like people pretending like, oh, I've seen the error of my ways. Now, because Tim and Mark are successful, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I used to help spread lies about you, and I'm unrepentant, and I
I'm hoping,
continue to
yeah,
spread lies about
I'm
people that you're
hoping this
friends with.
incredibly insincere apology will
Yeah.
undo the years of bad behavior I've been engaging in.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, these same people who apologized are still essentially lying about other things and, friends of Tim and Mark's, such as us, of course. But,
Not even just
and
friends
they're
of Tim and
unrepentant
Mark,
about that.
but
And they
just
have to, that's
people.
the only way they can sell their books. They have to
It's the
do that
new
because that's the
series.
way they have a YouTube channel. They do not have a YouTube channel unless they manufacture fake drama and engage in fights and pretend like they're having the cops called on them by nobody, essentially themselves. They're calling the cops on themselves and, blaming
That's
other
also the key
people.
thing. Another key thing we have to mention: a lot of those people who are doing this, they're not creators. They're going to tell you that they're comic book creators. I'm
Well,
an
no,
independent
none
comic
of
book
them
creator.
are
They're
ever.
not.
They're never going to make anything that will be remembered, and that's the other thing. That's the one of the other main differences is that Common America is going to be remembered by a lot of people because it's actually being enjoyed. The content of the book itself is being enjoyed by the people who read it instead of people who just say that the book's great before it even comes out. They don't fucking read it.
It's
They
going to
just
be. It's going
they're
to be the
essentially
best
they're not
comic
buying a
ever.
book, they're buying ideology, and then they're being like, look at this ideology I just bought. This book really owns the SJWs. And it's like, you're not really you don't really like comics. You're not a comics reader. You're not a real comics reader if you have ever said that you liked a book because it owns the
It
SJWs,
triggers the
or the
lib.
other way around if you say it owns the
We're going to
chuds or
trigger the
whatever.
libtard snowflakes. Okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to make a comic book. You're doing
Well,
one or the
no,
other.
what they end up doing is they end up making a video complaint. They make a YouTube video complaining about something and trying to stir up my artificially manufactured
And
drama.
reading super.
And again, those same people who do that then go to Tim and Mark apologizing to them about
Afterwards.
the stuff they lie about. And they continue, like, it's funny, guys like that Umbrella guy continue lying about stuff like that,
How many
and then
super
still
chats
ask
have
for
Tim
an
and Mark even
apology while
gotten?
then continuing to lie.
How many super chats do they get?
They get
As
a
far
lot.
as
They
I
get a
know,
lot
they've
of
never
money.
gotten one. They
It's
might have
a
gotten a
big
single
business.
one.
They get lots of money for it. That's the thing. You will always get more money if you pander, and that's another thing that ultimately the story within Common America is about. Is that Common America is like not the most successful superhero in her world. She's not.
There's also, yeah, they're also trying to play a narrative. That's actually one of the plot points. We won't go into spoilers. In fact, we're
Yeah.
not going to barely talk about the comic at all because we shouldn't have to.
Well, but
So I'm
we're
not
going
going
to talk about some of that part, anyways.
the one of the things I really appreciate is that they're like trying to fashion a narrative around her that she's not doing enough, that she's not good enough. It's like
Yeah.
the narrative has now changed. It's like, hey, we're very familiar with that. I
Yeah,
know
there's
all about that.
that's actually another thing that, as we pointed out when we reviewed the previous volumes of Common America, is that stuff that Comicsgate actually does in real life gets sort of lampooned and turned into an event in the comic. Um, and that's one thing I always really liked, is that there's, it maybe not sly references necessarily, but it's good fodder for an actual story where it now in the again, not to spoil it, but some new elements start trying to take credit for Common America's success the same way that Comicsgate and people in it have now tried. Though that's part of where the apologies are coming from people in Comicsgate, is they want to essentially try to take some kind of credit for the success of Tim and Mark, and they'll do it retroactively if they have to. And And
they're
again,
going
we've
to
seen
delete
that in
their old
action.
videos, and they're going to pretend like they never said the things that they said.
Yeah. Jim Tuner mentions in the comments, the more successful Timon market, the more absurd everything in Comicsgate appears. EVS knows this. Yeah, which is another aspect. Also,
It's kind of like what is it? Chaotic Evil. It was what it was in the fucking Christopher Hitchens, where he's talking about like it's an evil.
Oh no, there was
it will burn
Hannah
itself
Arendt
out.
came up with the concept of radical evil. Yeah, Christopher Hitchens referenced the idea of radical evil. That was the evil that is so evil that it doesn't actually have a purpose anymore and kind of implodes. The sort of ontological immorality that has been existing in Comicsgate on an objective level. It's been proven. So anyone who says, that's not true is in denial in a way that actually makes them mentally ill. Like a lot of people in Comicsgate are legitimately mentally ill. In fact, that's where mental illness, the whole accusation of mental illness came from. It was pointed out that a lot of people in Comicsgate, including guys like Ethan Van Sciver, were diagnosed mentally ill. And so when we were people in Comicsgate started projecting that and throwing that accusation back basically at anyone they didn't like. And that was something else that we had documented years ago. But that goes back so many years, I can't even link you to the videos anymore because most of them don't even exist, of course.
Because they were erased by mentally ill people.
Yes, exactly. Anyways, I was going to say Ty Bayaga. Hey, isn't that the guy who had the Cumtown channel that got pulled down by the one guy who started all the Cumtown channel? I don't know. Maybe that's
nice to see the guys from Cumtown, the Cumboys.
Who were the guys? There was Secret Squirrel, and wasn't Ty Bayaga was the other guy or something?
I don't know.
Am I thinking of a different name or a similar name? I don't know.
I honestly don't know.
Rob Carew in the chat mentioning not just Lansky, who can manipulate his platform to get the public on his side, but a superhero team that might be more than meets the eye, and a woman who has a high position of power. Yeah, again, not to spoil too much, but yeah, there's a new, just a new threat introduced, but a new element introduced that clearly is an antagonist, but it's not about. In fact, that's one of the things I like the most about the writing in this and the overall the overall series of Kamen America is that it's not about how they fight the bad guys and the bad guys are fighting them. It's about how the bad guys are manipulating public opinion and people have that sense of delusion that they love to embrace, like the way that some people will lie and then they'll believe the lie because it makes them feel good about themselves and it makes them feel virtuous. That's where virtue signaling comes from, is that somebody essentially is immoral and so they go around projecting and or throwing out the vision of them being a good moral person as they are then actively visibly immoral and dishonest and disingenuous. And that's what Kamen America has been sending up and sort of.
It's not a punching contest either. It's not. It's so dope. She just kicked this guy.
Yeah, she kicked this guy. She snapped this. There's this part where Kamen America snaps a guy's neck so hard that a sonic boom slices through the building. Dude, it was so dope. That's not what the book's about.
And then she screams like a Klingon.
Yeah. Which is
that's not the crux of the book. That's not the highlight of the book. Was look at this 2-page splash where she kicked a guy. It's so dope. That's not what this is about.
I mean, that doesn't actually happen. For anyone who's like, Kamen America snaps a guy's neck. No, that was a joke.
That was it's April 1st. You have to understand we're making April 1st references to Man of Steel.
Yes. I can see my
it's streaming my about Man of Steel.
Well, oh no, everyone can see me doing this. Oh no, people can see me fucking my cursor doing things. Anyways, going into some of the screen caps I took, one of the beginning sort of sub villains that's not really sort of or something, I guess recurring villain-ish kind of character. Is this goofy guy, the weeb? And Common America says, "Aren't you the weeb from the warehouse?" And I'm like, is this one of the first comics to actually say weeb in it? I mean, that's like a print comic.
It's the
I don't,
first.
maybe not, but
It's the first mainstream comic to say the word weeb.
I mean, to the extent that Common America is mainstream, it certainly should be, and I think one day it probably will be. That's like Common America is just still continuing to grow, and again, something you don't see with other supposed indie, like the fake indies, the pseudo indies out there, that are secretly bolstered by corporations and
Yeah, they're not
publishing
indies.
houses and that kind of thing
They're
too.
not indies. They're being propped up by
Yeah,
major
exactly.
corporation.
Common America is a legitimate indie comic. It's a real indie comic. And the thing is that it's got actual people. When it comes out, when the new Common American comes out, like today, you see a bunch of people posting, like taking screen caps of their favorite panels, or it's like, oh, I really like this part, or this is a good scene, or I really like this. Like this panel is like clearly very symbolic if you look at it with the right pair of eyes, perhaps. So something symbolic about this, a certain area on this, but I thought it was funny that she just just straight up calls him a weeb. He seems to be a Hispanic weeb also, or Latinx weeb.
Weebs,
Apparently, is the preferred
Latinx.
nomenclature.
Weebs can come from any place.
A
A
weeb
weeb
can
can come
come
from
from
anywhere.
anywhere. That's the magic of weebs. And then, like
Magic of weebs.
when Lansky shows up, Lansky sort of has a new style. He's got this ribbed turtleneck. It's kind of classy actually. And he's got
Kind of
stubble.
classy. It's actually a good style. It's not at all an eyesore. It's not like he's wearing a giant blonde fright wig and a top hat, a white top hat.
Yeah, it's not like his beard has gone shock white from life stress and life and like disgracing himself in the public eye in a way he has no impulse control to stop.
Deserved
And,
life stress.
and then he has to dye his own hair and that kind of thing. It's just low pro in the chat. I mean, I shouldn't put this on the screen, but I thought it was funny. He says a weeb back, if you will. It's not bad. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Anyways, so yeah, Lansky shows up. I have to admit, I kind of like it every time Lansky shows up. Not because I like Lansky, I despise him, but it's because I know that the comic's going to have a taste of that sort of satirical element that, again, a lot of people will just straight up never realize and never see. But
They don't need
the
to.
people it's directed to, you can kind of tell that they know.
I am waiting for somebody to say that he's like too cartoonishly evil, or it's like no real person who ever
Nobody acts like this in real life.
Nobody.
Oh wait,
nobody acts like this, and it's like,
yeah, like
oh, that's funny.
yeah. In fact, somebody randomly asks, "Oh, Lansky, Monsieur Lansky, are you not wanted by the FBI, CIA, La CIA, and ICPO for your connection to the terrorist Vermilion Masquerade? See the previous volumes for that." It says nothing but lies, slander, and conspiracy, which is like, oh, who would just lie about something like that in public? Nobody actually does that, do they? Oh wait.
Oh,
Oh. And then just the next panel. Also, another element, and this has been pointed out by many people, and it's a nice little element that that Tim puts in. I assume it's Tim putting this in. I don't know if I'm pretty sure it's Tim putting this in, and Mark's not writing these specifically, but he may. It's something that we'll probably ask him. We'll probably have Tim and or Mark on. We could just have Mark on. In the coming week or two. So, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. But yeah, we plan to have Tim and Mark on again. We've had them on many times in the past.
I had him on many times, enjoyed every minute of it.
Yes, but the sort of angry vein in his sunglasses, to sort of like the way his sunglasses sort of indicate his emotions. That's been happening for the past few volumes, actually. And I'm not sure if that's a detail that Tim puts in or if Mark actually writes those in, or if it sort of goes back and forth. In this one, just sunglasses. Again, I think his style of sunglasses changed. In fact, they look a little bit like Vermilion Masquerades from the previous issues. Now that, well, I won't spoil that for anyone who hasn't read that stuff yet, but that has an interesting, that has an interesting plot and twists and a payoff and all that stuff. And that's where I think Mark really escalated.
Like, I want to find out where this is going. I want to see more.
Yeah.
See, this is how you actually maintain a reader's interest.
And that's the other thing. As I was pointing out earlier, when Kamen America comes out, when the new issue, when the new volume comes out, people are legitimately interested and excited to see where the story goes. And that doesn't happen with any of the pseudo indies.
There's one thing I noticed on my own is like, oh, people are actually talking about this. I've never seen anyone do that for any of these other independent comics.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about them when they come out. It's just all this hype ahead of time. Oh, when it comes out, it's always years late. And it's like, when these come out, they're going to change the world. Everything's going to be different. It's like information beginning. Everything is going to be completely different once this happens. And you're going to be sorry that you dealt with Caesar, that you weren't friends with Caesar.
You didn't hail Caesar. That's one of the only things missing from Kamen America. That would be too on the nose, I suppose. Although I think there were a little bit of hints at making fun of that to some extent. I mean, the guy's name is Nero Lansky, which is like a combination of Nero and Caesar.
The Emperor.
Nero, the emperor who fiddled while Rome burned. And Meyer Lansky, who is the old gangster from the 30s or the 20s or something like that. But anyways, yeah, the next thing was just the next panel. Like every panel on this page of Lansky sort of made me laugh. This one was good too, is that after the U.S. government refused foreign assistance and bringing Vermilion to justice, which is, again, like taking credit for something that the Common Core did. Again, that pun "Common Core" is sort of almost like unintentional, but like just sort of a funny thing. But him mentioning himself as a humble hero merchant. TM. The TM is especially a nice touch, kind of making fun. Again, like I know Tim and Mark don't want to put too fine a point on this, but I have no qualms about doing that.
I will.
Direct reference to Ethan Van Sciver, how he used to refer to himself as a humble hero merchant. And the TM is kind of a joke about the whole stupid trademark fighting going back and forth.
On top of him calling himself Caesar, and then having people in his streams.
That was the thing. That was Ethan being more concerned with branding than actually being a comic creator. He was like, how do I brand myself? He was all about public relations and trying to come up with catchphrases and what we used to refer to in the old 4chan days as forced memes.
I think also that whatever the humble hero merchant is sort of a reference to. He probably stole it from Richard.
Well, yeah, like, Ethan himself would regularly call himself a humble. That was like his first attempt at a forced meme.
I assume it's because Richard was like, "We're just hot dog vendors."
Yeah, there's an element of that too.
The
humble creator. Yeah, that was the thing, is that Richard was the darling at first. He was the fame.
He was a total darling.
Yes, a Dorothy, a friend of Dorothy, if you will. But and because of that, Ethan actually, though it was funny that Ethan was the one who had the supposed legitimacy of working for the corrupt Big Two with their corrupt business.
Exactly what these people who defend him say they didn't want to begin with.
Yeah, and then they go and support it by continuing to support the actual behavior in that sense. But
and then
it was Ethan who wanted to sort of glom on to Richard's legitimacy at first, and then that actually flipped over as the years passed, which was an interesting thing to observe, which again really nobody else pointed out. But anyways, continuing, this one actually really made me laugh out loud, lol out loud, if you will, where he's mentioning the former heroes, which some of that goes back, like the Ice Tosterone, Marmot Maiden, Warhen. All those are actually references to the Walmite books, which is interesting because it implies that even that took place in the same universe, while also obviously not. But the Walmite books, very good ones, especially the ending of the whole series. Very highly recommended.
That third one, that was a great capstone.
Yeah.
Perfect
for anyone legitimately not aware of that. Me and my brother wrote the ending for Walmite 3. Tim and Mark basically hired us to write the backup story that ended Walmite 3, and officially is the ending of the entire.
Are you sure it was us and not Donald DeLay? I thought he asked Donald DeLay and just some guy in Literature Devil. Oh wait, they're nobodies. They're nothing. And in fact, they were attacking all of us.
It could have. Well, yeah, that was the thing, is that
could have been them. Yes.
If they were just like, it's funny, just throwing the names out there. It's like fucking. Oh no, we're being a little too honest again. Honest to a fault.
Well, normally I don't even mention them because, like, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. But
we don't even think about them. We don't think about them until we do videos.
No one knows what you're talking about.
For the last month, I've been like, oh, fucking Elden Ring. I did the Volcano Manor. It's like, well, how? There's a fucking another path there, and why is there a fog wall in front of a fog wall? What is this? I have to go solo. I don't want to solo this place, but I just soloed a bunch of it. Earlier this morning.
One thing that's definitely more important than Comic Skate Drama is VR Skyrim.
That's usually this is what we're actually thinking about. And it's only until we start streaming that all the stuff that we haven't said is like, well, let's say this because we haven't said it so that it is said. And again, that's how we end up saying all the stuff and pointing out because there's no point in beating around the bush or being vague or any of that shit anymore when it's time to actually
we kind of need to stop that, if anything.
Yeah.
So we need to stop we need to stop being vague. We need to stop being the bigger man.
Well, I mean, we still
be the bigger man to remain the bigger man.
Yes,
above
the morally super, if you will. I think the bigger man is kind of a silly term. I prefer the overman. I think that accurately describes.
No, you're right.
Who we are and what we are.
That is very apt, very direct. Comparison.
Jim Tuner also points out Warhen was a shout out to Mitch Breitweiser and the classic fan favorite Red Rooster. Where is Red Rooster now? Oh yeah, they fucking threw it behind the coloring books in Walmart. We've been seeing pictures of Red Rooster like just not even on, just in the bottom of the back of like the children's section of the book.
He's at home washing his tights.
Yes, yeah, exactly. His gay tights, because he's gay. Did you know he's gay? He is. Yes, and again, that's the other thing is that if you want to compare like success, you don't have to compare success natural. What we do, we don't compare success. We don't say, look at how successful Tim and Mark is. We say, look at how good their books are on ways that you can objectively quantify, which we do, by the way. And that's the thing, though. Look at how good the books are. Look at how good the storytelling is. Look at how much people actually like finding out the story in the new Common America books. Whereas, can you even say that about a single Red Rooster book? No. You can't even get the shills to say that. Even the shills are like, wow, I got ripped off with this Red Rooster book. He fucked us over. Mitch Breitweiser fucked us over by just taking my money, and then he doesn't even give me the book. He sells it in Walmart. And again, if you want a real,
they should have known that. They should have seen that coming.
If you want a daily dose of fucking Schadenfreude, with a heavy emphasis on fraud, go check out the comments section for Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet. Just every single day is a new, usually 2 minimum, new people or old people requesting refunds. In fact, one guy was requesting a refund since November of last year, and then Ethan just a couple weeks ago replied to him saying refunds are closed, no more, no one's getting any refunds. And then all of a sudden, like a girl comments saying, "Can I please get a refund?" And then she replies to herself going, "This is cleared up. Thanks, Ethan." And the guy who had been asking for a refund since last year is like, "How come she got a refund, but I've been asking for a refund for like almost 6 months now with nothing?" And it goes to show, again, the behavior itself, the corrupt, immoral behavior from everyone in Comicsgate, not just Ethan, because Ethan does that, of course. He is morally corrupt on an objective level that you can actually point to. You can point to actual examples of him being stupid and wrong and
Well, I mean,
and a
there's
corrupt
also him
person.
just straight up giving the funding. He funded a guy who false flags channels.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
does that?
he
An
directly
immoral
funded
person.
Liam Gray, who was false flag, and he supported Liam Gray false
All
flag
you people who are like, "Oh, I'd be a superhero fighting against evil." Here's your evil. You're on board. You're in
Yeah,
favor of it.
here's the
You're
objective
not fighting it.
ontological immorality that in ways you can point to, and then Ethan will lie about it, get caught lying in direct physical examples that you can point to and say, there it is, Ethan Van Sciver just lied again. And again, same for every other person, because in Comicsgate, you can then be like, hey, that person in our movement just lied. We need to do something about that. And again, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Common America, in part, is about this exact thing. Just look at this. But this is the part that made me laugh. And again, all that stuff we've like, if you want more details about that and all the stuff, again, our Subscribe Star has all of that shit. And it has for a long time now. But the part that really made me laugh here was that Lansky says, they did all this and insulated jingoistic programming, blah, 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 and says, so they stabbed me in the back, which is his old classic line. And again, that's the Ethan Van
Direct
line.
verbiage, the exact verbal literal line.
Yeah, it was verbatim. Ethan Van Sciver, not just Ethan Van Sciver, but when Ethan Van Sciver started whining about everyone, that's why he started demanding everyone call him Caesar. He started claiming everyone was stabbing. Like, he would pick out a person in Comicsgate, turn them into an enemy, and say that they stabbed him in the back when the evidence would prove the exact opposite.
He claimed it was the SJWs who started saying that about him.
Yeah. Well, he did that a lot.
Yeah,
He said that the SJWs
that.
invented the term Comicsgate, which
I
know is directly false, because we actually fucking were some of the first people to ever say it. That and Pleb Comics, I remember in 2015, actually said, she made a post saying Comicsgate when, in reply to a thing. And again, that was 2015. Where was Ethan? Where was anyone in Comicsgate then? Where were they when we were actually making?
Ethan was still working at
the real
DC.
When we essentially came up with the ideas for Comic Liberty that people like Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini, believe in, and not like they follow it or they ascribe to it, but it's just a concept that they agree with. That's what Comic Liberty is. And that's something we came up with in 2015. And we even had the evidence. We showed it. I remember linking it to people and being like, here you go, here it is. And people would just say this, people immediately memory hole it.
People are going to say that we're being braggadocious or that we're egotistical.
We're totally braggadocious to the max.
And all I can say to that is, I guess I am.
Yeah,
I guess I am now.
We deserve it, of course.
I guess I have to be.
We did earn it.
All these people who had their opportunity to do what we said they needed to do.
And again, Tim and Mark are the guys who are actually putting it into practice. They're putting the ideas into practice without us having to tell them, hey, here are our ideas. They were just preternatural. They were supernatural. They were fucking ultra mundane, if you will.
It's like they got a natural high.
A supernatural high, even. But that was the thing, is that it was just the core concepts that Tim and Mark just happen to also believe in is the stuff that we were saying should be like the Gamergate of comics, should be about this. And Tim and Mark agreed with us and still do. Luster Dog mentions the IGG comments section is a great place to send to CG apologists. And Shen Yongo says, I like to imagine Lansky having EVS's voice, which that would be a good voice for a sort of pretentious, like deeply, as Norm Macdonald said, deeply closeted homosexual. Is that artificial, like, oh, I'm very important. I'm actually a great, like, they couldn't overcome their insulated jingoistic. It's a weirder, very obviously artificial affectation that he puts on. And if you go listen to his oldest videos, you can hear what his real voice is, and it's very effeminate. But again, I was just trying to get to this part. That the part that made me laugh in this panel was that he was always saying, about being stabbed in the back, Lansky specifically, in reference to Ethan Van Sciver. It was a reference to Ethan Van Sciver saying that, but Lansky, I like how he escalates it. The way everything's escalating in Kamen America 5, he escalates that they stabbed the world in the back of the whole world. What part is the back of the world? I think it's China.
That's a whole back. That's a big back to stab.
That's a big back, and that's got to be a big knife. So clearly, Kamen America is clearly the evil one. They're the real evil ones if they're going to stab the world in the back. Which again, this whole thing, the comic, the series, and the stuff that's been going on in real life in relation to it is about the narrative, the way that people intentionally choose to believe a false narrative because it makes them feel good.
One of the most important stories going on right now, and it's real.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I like Kamen America, because it takes that and uses that for some really interesting, not for the entire story though. That's not what all of the Kamen America story is about. It's just one of the elements, that it's one of my favorite parts that gets played into. But also, yeah, the next panel is Lansky going, now the USA is embarrassed because it took a minor league bimbo to take her down. They want to cover it up by shutting me up. Too bad. Like it or not, America, we're here to save the world. And that, like, they want to cover it up by shutting me up. He sort of pulls an umbrella guy there. They're trying to shut me down, but when nobody is, just making up shit that never happened.
Like that, what was it? The fucking, they're trying to shut us down. And he's like doing a U2 rooftop concert.
Yeah, that was
shut us down, man, and nobody's there.
That was the Ben Stiller show where he's pretending to be Bono, and he's on the rooftop and going, they're trying to shut us down, and it goes down to the street and nobody's there. Just one guy's walking past and he's like, what? Which was supposed to be I think the streets with where the streets have no name.
Which was also a reference to the Get Back Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles rooftop concert thing. Except I don't think they had the giant. They didn't have like a helicopter and all that shit. But anyways, yeah, this part, the next panel on the show was just gamer shaming with what a lot of fans are calling best girl, Sylvia, Common Victory, who's the new girl basically,
the latest member.
Yeah, and again, fucking Misha is my favorite personally because tomboy, and also the way that like as Tim and Mark had said in some of the older streams, and we're going to have to brag again. We're just going to have to. We would talk to Tim and Mark very regularly. They would stream with us a lot before Kamen America existed, and Tim would talk about how they took some inspiration from our videos and what we were saying about comics and this and that. And we were the first people to say to point out that manga was blowing American comics out of the water in sales. And the funny thing is, the people who disagreed with us or said, well, I don't think you have any evidence, do you? And now all of those people who doubted us are the people who are saying it as well. They're parroting us down
our videos.
But
The people who are saying that we were wrong all along are now the ones who are essentially just copying the content of our videos.
Yeah, but the thing is that Tim and Mark actually did something about it. And one of the things I liked about Misha versus Carly is it was right off the bat, issue 1, Common America #1, introduction to Riona in the comic. And I, because we had talked to Tim about Riona and we had done videos about Riona, and it's like, this is part of why manga is selling better and doing better and has more appeal.
Well, it's also, I mean, it's very fundamental. It goes to the reason why American comics are so useless.
Yeah, it's very neuron activating, if you will.
But if you're going to have female characters, especially as leads,
yeah, that's the thing, is that if you do that, and that's another thing that American comics fuck up, and we've talked about this for years and years, and again, it's something that you're probably going to hear everyone else start saying afterwards because we said it first, but it's American comics are terrible at Riona. And by the way, Riona is like girls getting the shit beat out of them, or girls at least beating the shit out of each other, and that kind of thing.
I mean, that's not even what the translation translates to.
Well, not the literal translation, of course.
It's just like girls in peril.
That's not even the literal translation.
You have to be able to actually show them in real danger. If you don't do that,
and that's the thing. Yeah, American comics
consider them your equal.
Yeah, every single time American comics will have like a female superhero or something, and just have no threat, no risk, no peril, no nothing, no danger, no injury. They don't look like they're even going to.
And then they become Mary Sue's
under any threat. Yeah,
like, at best, they're not a Mary Sue. They just face absolutely no real hardship.
One of the best pointing out of that in history was Red Letter Media when they did that review of Sucker Punch. One of the reasons why Sucker Punch was a bad movie is you see her get punched, she goes flying back like 2 miles or something, slams through like 5 walls and like 80 chairs, she stumbles over a pile of metal chairs and then just gets back up like nothing happened without even being tongue-in-cheek or something.
And he's like immediately on board.
Yeah, I'm immediately bored. And that's the thing. That's what American comics do all the time with female superheroes. And that's what we said. We had pointed this out. We had done videos, and Tim and Mark talked to us about how that's a really good point. And it's like, oh, you're right about how that's a really good point that we made. But then, yeah, they took it to heart, and that became an element in Common America. Pretty much all of them have the common core get fucked up in some way or another, and again, it's not like it has to be like, oh, their bones all shattered, nothing like that. But
that's Guro. That's a very important element. Guro is just objectively not good.
Yeah, there's an important distinction.
Kind of like a vor, or feet.
Vor
that was another thing I noticed.
There's some good feet
in
this.
Feet.
There are some good feet in this, at least.
There's some pretty good feet in this, even though it's an objectively bad fetish.
It's
for bad people.
Dumb, stupid. But I do understand appealing to people who have those particular tastes, if you will.
There's nothing wrong with appealing to various audiences, going across the aisle, so to speak, to various niche audiences. It's just for a little bit.
Showing this next panel, I wanted to point out that some of the art in this also, Tim has stepped up his art because the art's looking not just more refined, but it's got like because he's still doing that fast art style, but he's got effects and he's it's about getting the style out there. It has that great blur effect that we've talked about. We've done videos about the blur effect. I think we talked about that in our reviews of stuff like My Hero Academia, but also mainly that, but also stuff like Delicious in Dungeon, and when we reviewed The Promised Neverland and that kind of stuff, is that Japanese style of the motion blur that makes things look so much more dynamic. But it's not just that; it's the angle, it's the perspective, and Tim has in a way better control of that. Like the art, it looks better, and in fact, it looks a little more influenced by Kamen, whose art is fantastic, of course. And they've been getting a lot of Common America commissions and picks from Kamen recently. And Kamen is also the artist who did villains of our Villains of the Snow Sea issue 2 cover, that fantastic cover with Laylee sort of riding the werewolf metasoma form, that fucking great stuff. But Tim's art kind of looks like it's emulating Kamen's style to great effect. And stuff always looked pretty dynamic in the previous stuff, but I think it's like even better in this new volume too.
The coloring is very similar. I
A
definitely
nice
noticed that.
upskirt here too. I appreciate this.
This is
I
mine.
appreciate.
This one is mine.
But
I can have this one. Nobody else can.
Yeah, there's some other elements of the art that's touched up. There's also like some actual physics to her tits, which here's the thing is that it's not going to be like haha tit bounce, but the fact is so many American artists do what Jerk very aptly and accurately referred to as the hard boob style. That's just ugly, like John, and it was referring specifically to John Mayall and his very ugly generic American style that's bland.
But you also
and
know
lifeless and
Richard C. Meyer, he gave a pass to it. He saw it and was like, good job.
He wanted that. He actively wanted it. That's the thing, is that the tits in the American style have no weight or motion or heft or bounce to them.
They don't behave like they would in real life.
Yeah. They're like rocks. Basically. They're like chest rocks. They just look they look like they're just there. They basically look inherently like implants all the time. Whereas in anime and manga, they actually, like, especially when it's a static drawing, like in anime, of course they're gonna draw the bounce, they're gonna animate it. But in manga, to actually show some meat to it is a unique and distinct style, and it's something that artists are all learning to do. One day, like fucking 10 years from now, you're not really even going to see anyone who cares about the American art style. It's all going to be replaced by people who grew up reading manga. And they're going to be drawing tits with some bounce, some heft, some squish, all that stuff. And again, American artists, their generic, plain, bland style, like Ethan Van Sciver's very weird, wonky, like not even getting into his anatomy incompetence, but the way he draws women is very bland and boring. He looks like a closeted homosexual trying to convince people that he's straight. And John Malin just looks like a brain dead moron who just apes the style of the American style, and that kind of shit, where the women just look very generic and kind of just stone-faced bland all the time. Whereas again, Tim's style, very expressive. But then also the figure stuff, the action, it's way more dynamic than the Americans. A lot of American comics, when they have motion, it still looks static. And that's something we've been saying for years and years, going back to 2018. And everyone else is going to be saying that now, one day or now as well. But yeah, that's another thing, is that the art isn't just better, but it's continuing that style that people like. Like the Japanese aren't necessarily the best creators of comics. They're just they're just making better comics because they're actually competing with each other. They're competing to make the best comics. They're trying, and they are pushing the envelope. They're actually trying to go out there and do the things that other people won't do. That's how you get something like Berserk. There will never be an American equivalent of Berserk until you essentially smother the comic book nerd fandom that is preventing things like that from reaching that level. It's essentially, the problem is and again, that's something that we've been saying for years, and we've proven, and that Tim and Mark agree with us about. So, if you disagree with us, you're wrong, and you can be objectively quantified as being wrong. And you're also disagreeing with the experts who know better. So, shove that up your ass.
Put that in your pipe, smoke it.
In hell. But anyways, the other panel that stood out to me is there's sort of a little argument, a sort of disagreement that happens between the characters, and it's like they're going to get some corporate sponsorship or something. And she points out that like Common America says, we're building everything the right way. Grassroots is about integrity, and corporations have a way of taking over and interfering. That's another kind of reference of, in a way, maybe not directly, maybe not intentionally, but it's sort of a reference to how Ethan Van Sciver was claiming to be an indie comics creator now, but he was secretly being held up by Dynamite Comics behind the scenes. His comic was going to be printed and fulfilled by Dynamite Comics. He didn't have the balls to come out and admit it, and then also it leaked and it became a big PR disaster. And the thing is that now he doesn't even say if they are or not. He pretends he's doing it all himself, but most likely he still isn't. Most likely that's a lie. But I thought that was just an interesting little reference in the comic, which may not be about that necessarily either. Here's another panel that I thought looked really nice and dynamic and looked very Cafun inspired. Where they're fighting, and just they sort of dynamism of the visual here. I really like this one. And then this is something that somebody else actually capped. I like this part, but somebody else capped this and pointed out, it looks like this guy has the Ghostbusters PKE meter, but he's scanning somebody who this time is very obviously Ethan Van Sciver, who also looks, it's funny, he's wearing a pink shirt, very appropriate for a closeted homosexual, and it looks like it's got a bunch of white stuff all over it. Now, maybe that's beard dye, maybe that's some other dried white substance,
some white powder,
some other familiar faces that some people may have pointed out are also in this panel, which again, maybe not. And I know, here's the thing about pointing it out is that I know Tim and Mark won't say this and won't confirm, because it's not about that. And I almost feel a little bad even pointing it out and just saying, here, it's obviously this. But we can do that because we just can.
We'll do that. I mean,
we have the freedom to do that.
That's our freedom. That's our freedom.
Well, that's the thing. That's part of what I like about these comics, is that it's got the little references which you don't really need to know. You don't have to acknowledge or anything. They don't even have to be true.
There's so many references, I don't even notice all of them, and you don't have to. It's just there for fun.
But yeah, the other thing is the direct reference here is this guy whining, this cross-eyed, fat, very blatantly homosexual old fat man, saying the robots wouldn't be spreading if you get smart, grab an oar and start helping the world. The grab an oar was a John Malin line where he said that people basically everyone needs to be part of Comicsgate. Basically, everyone needs to bend the knee to the leadership of Comicsgate that they don't have the honesty to admit even exists.
We all need to be part of Comicsgate. And this is the same Comicsgate where we asked, can everyone be part of Comicsgate? And they're like, no.
Well, that was one of the things. That was one of the first direct contradictions that really fucking took Ethan off guard in a way that I wasn't even expecting, is that Ethan, in that supposed debate or whatever, it wasn't even really a debate. It was just like, hey, well, let's just talk. You've been saying that nobody ever has any criticism or disagreement with Comicsgate unless they're an SJW. I'm living proof that's a lie. So you're lying. Are you willing to be confronted about any of that? And Ethan wasn't, until I was able to basically get somebody to have Ethan be confronted with it. And Ethan started pushing the whole Comicsgate's for everyone. It's all the people. Said, what about Tim Lim? And he said, no, Just like without even a hesitation, Ethan said. This was in 2018, and the video of that's still up, and nobody looks at it or acknowledges it, except, of course, for the people who, are subscribed to us and watch our videos. The
People who are paying
who
attention.
follow us are the ones who are in the know about what's really happening in indie comics and all that. Everyone else is a liar, proven, objective, disingenuous people. And afraid, in fact, of the truth. They're afraid of even addressing anything we say. And to the point where it's become like an embarrassment to them. Like, that's the thing, is that that umbrella guy actually like tried to apologize in a pathetic, just groveling, pathetic beta bitch display. Tug tried to apologize to Tim, basically admitting that he helped spread lies about Tim, while without taking responsibility, because he's not a real man.
Well, also
But the thing is
lied.
that
He's
it's like,
done the exact
what
same
do you
thing
think,
about a
Tim
lot of
what do
other
you think
people.
guys like Tim and Mark think about you when they see you continuing to lie about their friends? And it's like, here, this is what they think about you. This is fucking, here it is.
Go ahead and
what are
ignore
you
it.
going to do about it? You're going
Don't
to back
listen.
off and go silent and pretend it didn't happen. Of course, that's all they ever do. That's all guys like them ever do.
Well, when we tell you this, also make sure not to pay attention to us, because we don't have a big
And that's
YouTube
the
following.
difference. That's the prime difference between us and them, is they can never address anything head on, while we are sitting here pointing to it and say, here's us addressing it head on. There it is right there.
I'm not trying to get Tim or Mark in trouble either.
No, that's not the
also
point. And that's not the
identifying.
point. And I understand that even pointing this out, it sounds like we are, but we're not. Objectively, we're not. And we've proven that also. But yeah, that's the thing, is that we point it out because it's the truth. That's the prime thing that matters to us. And sometimes telling the truth gets you in trouble, because a disingenuous person or pathological liars don't like you telling the truth about something that they didn't want other people hearing.
It's a real good test of character, really.
It's the ultimate test of character. Once you fucking reveal it,
or
that's
if you
the end.
see somebody is wrong and you point out that they're wrong, how do they react? Do they explode in rage? Then they're not a good person.
Or do they cower away? Do they cower away and then like do some weird like gutter sniping shit? Which is another thing that constantly happens. And again, it happens from people like Tug towards people like Tim and Mark and us. And the thing is that Tug thinks that if he just apologizes to one person, then the behavior that he is apologizing for, that he still continues to engage in, will suddenly be overlooked. And it's like, you really don't know how people look at you then. And that's good. That
not even that he thinks it's overlooked. He thinks it's okay. He thinks it's okay to do stuff like this.
And he does make money from really gullible, stupid people who get easily scammed into believing his lies. But the thing is, they're immoral people themselves. They don't care what the truth is. They just want to be told a comforting lie. They want to be told something that makes them feel better. And that's, again, Kamen America in a way. The story addresses that in a sort of undertone kind of way. It's about people who want to believe pretty lies, whereas the actual the beauty of the world, the common core, is for a long time they would go underappreciated, because the people whose egos were hurt would decide to make them an enemy. They would say, "Oh, Kamen America again." The Kamen America backstabbed us, which was directly making fun of something Ethan Van Sciver regularly said about many people, but also is sort of an overall about lots and lots of people throughout Comicsgate, but also just throughout life. See, that's the thing, is that saying that it's about Comicsgate narrows it too much. It's not about Comicsgate. It's about the overall behavior, the big picture. I think a lot of people miss that when even we point out.
In fact,
that,
it's really kind of sad. It's almost kind of tragic that we even have to bring this up.
Yeah.
We have to bring up the worst person ever, the poison of the industry, in this wonderful review of a wonderful comic. He doesn't deserve that honor. But luckily, we don't have a big following.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that you'll if you don't pander, if you don't lie to people and tell them what they want to hear and pander to them, you'll always have a smaller following, and that's something that guys like Tim and Mark and Doug TenNapel have said always, and in fact, that it gets proven. That's the thing, though, is that again, if you want to actually support actual legitimate quality, then the only thing to really do is to buy Common America and the stuff that the guys who make Common America like, such as our comic, literally chapter 2, number 2,
1
whatever you
and
want to call
2.
it, available right now. And again, the your character here perk is going. It's almost gone. There's only 2 of them left. If you want to get a character or yourself in the comic, there's only 2 left right now.
If you just want the comic, you can just go and get the comic too.
Here it is linked in the chat. It'll be in the description. I'll link it in the description after the show too. So you can check out the comic that Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini, the creators of Common America, like themselves. They like it. And also
what they're reading
has a nice
what they want to read. If they have the option to read something for pure enjoyment.
Yeah, the kind of comics that Tim and Mark read for enjoyment is stuff like literally written by us, or a perfect example of that. They liked our comics so much they paid us to write a comic for them. If so, what is everyone else missing that Tim and Mark caught on to?
Everyone else who's listening to this, by the way, and doesn't know any of this stuff is like, oh, you're being egotistical. We've had people say this over and over again about us.
Yeah,
you're being egotistical. No, we're not.
But also, the thing is, they never say that. They never say that guys like Ethan are being egotistical when they do the same thing.
Well, he's doing way worse. He's not doing the same thing.
Why not?
He's not just saying he is doing nothing at all remotely the same. He's not just saying, oh, my comic is good. People love it. He can't say that because nobody loves it. He's saying that he's the fucking emperor of Comicsgate, and if they don't like it, they need to get
Ethan Van Sciver hired people to pretend to like his comics. That's what War Campaign was. It was a group of people who didn't read comics, never made comics before in their lives, didn't have anything to do with comics, but were willing to bend the knee and worship an e-celeb.
They were never part of a doxing ring either.
And the thing is that
they were for that.
Ethan paid them.
They became one.
He directly funded them. He directly platformed them. And now they hate him and say that he's a fraud. So it's like, how did that work out for you? Whereas we point out that actual people actually like our comics. We don't have to pay Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini. You can ask them yourselves, but you don't even have to because the handy blurbs are right up at the top. There are direct verbatim quotes. One of them's actually from one of the many streams that we did with Tim and Mark. So, that's always worth checking out. So that's our Indiegogo going right now, almost completely funded. And again, the money's just going towards the art. So we don't even need the full, we just need to hit the goal, but we don't need all the money to pay for the art. We just are using the money to pay for the art. So like the rest of the art will cost like another couple $1,000s. We don't have to get a couple $1,000s in the Indiegogo to finish the comic. The comic will be finished. Again, that's something that you can't really say about most of these fake pseudo indies who are really just YouTubers who are just whoring for attention. And like Jim Tuner also accurately mentions is that Umbrella guy, Yellow Umbrella, also known as, moved on from comics to scamming money out of old ladies with crushes on Johnny Depp. That's basically who he's selling to now, and that's who he gets his money from. And it works, but again, it works to scam people out of money. Scamming people out of money works for something.
People are definitely falling for it. I'll give him credit for this. People are definitely falling for his new scam.
Which proves
it is a scam, and they are falling for it.
Proves our point and proves us to be objectively correct, is that when you pander and lie, you'll always make more money. But when you tell the truth, you'll always make less money.
It's not really even that you'll make more money or you'll make less money. you will gain short-term gains.
And again,
if you lie,
if your
but in
point
the
is
long
that,
run,
like,
you will always destroy yourself.
I've seen people try to make the points like, oh, you guys don't even make much money. And it's like, yeah, that just proved our point. You just proved us right. What we've been saying this whole time, you proved us right, and you didn't even know you proved us right. And that's the thing, is that they're not smart enough to tell. The pseudo indies, really, just a lot of them are just YouTubers. They're just, or leech tubers is actually the most accurate term, because they don't even make something on YouTube. They're not like Red Letter Media or even like Pyrocynical, who's a secret fucking
that's a
diaper
key
for
thing.
whatever the fuck.
Very key, important element. They're not making content. They're
Yeah.
making clickbait. And
Like, I
people are
would,
falling
like,
for the
no matter
clickbait.
what you say about Pyrocynical, I would easily watch any of his Far Cry reviews. I would like to see him review Far Cry 4. His review of Far Cry 3 is one of the fucking best videos about Far Cry 3 in existence.
It's one of the
I
best
watched that
videos.
entire video about Utopia. I think it was like 8 hours or something. Or was it 10? I don't know. But it was ridiculous. It was something ridiculous like that. I watched the whole thing, and it was really good. And that's the thing. He actually makes something on YouTube, whereas all the rest of these people who are involved in Comicsgate just complain about empty, shallow pop culture on YouTube.
That's
And it
also
works. It
what
does
I'm
work to
starting to
get
notice
clicks and
about,
money, but
what I'm
they
starting to
are
notice
essentially
about
disingenuous
Metal
people
Spoonie.
still.
Is Metal Spoonie's videos are like 99% clickbait, shitbait, clickbait, fucking leech tuber content.
He does still have more to say about things, at least. And then he
Sort
has his
of.
branding, which is kind of cheesy,
He's-
but it's like,
He's
that's still at least a
15%
little more.
above them, which puts him down in the 2 percentile
Yeah.
for what he should be doing. Actual
another
good
thing,
content. In Red Letter Media is like the 99 percentile. Metal Spoonie is the 2 percentile.
the bottom two. The
Because it's literally just really, really shit takes on video games. He just shouldn't even review video games anymore, nor should he review movies.
yeah, I'm tired of hearing about either how great the Thief games were, or that Elric fucking is a ripoff of fucking of The Witcher or whatever the fuck.
Now, The Witcher is a ripoff of Elric, which is a ripoff of Conan, which is a ripoff of some other fucking gay elf from the 1500s.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Jim Turner mentions things broke down with War Campaign because EVS promised them that they were going to get published by Dynamite, and yeah, that's right. I remember this. They shifted the Dynamite deals to his other friends, and War Campaign got pissed off. That, and also War Campaign started trashing other people. Like, there was that Star Wars girl got a cover, not a very good artist, but she still got a variant cover deal on some. I think it was a Vampirella issue, and War Campaign immediately starts trashing her, and her sister committed suicide or something, and they start making fun of her for that. And then so all of a sudden Comicsgate has to sort of rationalize why they supported and funded War Campaign all this time for doing things that they were still doing. There was like, War Campaign's doing War Campaign things. Are we for or against this? Like, and again, that's something that we've never had. Comic Liberty's never had. Fucking us and Tim and Mark have never had that. In fact, we've had cast-offs from Comicsgate try to show up around us and try to bring their Comicsgate shit.
I mean, that's that is like old news. That's like, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of these people showing up from Comicsgate wanting us to be their new Caesar.
Yeah, or that they want to be their own Caesar, and they want us as part of the thing. And again, we just never went with it. And any people who attempted, like when Preston tried that. Now Preston gets to have the Preston Nights, and it's like when he showed up around here, it's like, okay, I mean, we'll be nice to anyone who's willing to actually listen. And it turns out Preston was just doing it
you have
for
to be in our corner.
Weird
That's actually one of the things that's originally, it was like, you don't even have to be in our corner. Just don't attack us. Now you have to be in our corner.
All you have to do is just listen. And that's the thing. That's why Tim and Mark like us. And that's why these grifters like Tug will never understand that they'll never be liked by honest people. They'll only be liked by dishonest people. So if you corner the market on dishonest people, you'll make a lot of money. But it will be from people who are cowards essentially, and it never lasts. And then you'll start to get desperate and things will get really bad. We've seen it before with other people. We've seen it before with other people in Comicsgate, but we've seen it before, years before Comicsgate ever existed. So we know how all of that turns out and has turned out and is turning out. And again, a lot of this kind of it plays into the stuff that happens in the Common America books. That's why we bring it up.
That's why we had to bring all of this up.
But also, here's speaking of which, here's the Laylee cameo, because there's a Laylee cameo in every issue of Common America. She's in the runway thing with happy cute cat face or wolf face.
Where's just some guy's cameo? Oh, he doesn't have one.
That's a little cruel on our parts, but that's the thing is
but
that
it's also deserved.
I mean, I don't want to even mention that or get into that, but there's a huge element of like embarrassment. Like I don't want to say like Tim and Mark talked to us behind the scenes recently, because I feel like I'm gossiping then. But the thing is that there's been a huge contingent of people who just ended up being embarrassments. Like it's like, oh, this guy's cool, let's put in a cameo from him, and then he does something that's just fucking horrific, and it's like
it's somebody that they don't know much about. It's just like,
it goes to show.
Somebody who
this proves what I was just saying earlier too. This proves what I was just talking about a couple minutes ago.
Back around
is that these people will ingratiate themselves to you, and you go, oh, okay, hey, hello there. You're being nice to them, and so that's good. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's talk. Let's hang out. And then, maybe it might take a year or something and everything collapses with them. Like they lose their minds or they fucking just something happens with them. And that's what happened with Preston. And Preston got hooked up with what looked like a Comicsgate plant who was an actual criminal fraud. Who again, it looks like he was planted to try to dig up dirt on us or try to get us incriminated in his shit, and we didn't go for it, and Preston completely doubled down after it got revealed, and it was just a big disaster. So again, all the Preston and the Preston Knights and these people who grabbed the ore for Preston are now, they have references and cameos in the previous Common America books, but it's embarrassing in general. And, that happens. That just happens because somebody supports you. And it's like, oh, finally, some support. We've been going at it alone all this time. And then they reveal that they were just another one of the people that you fucking were being honest about. And they were hoping, like with John Del Rose, he was hoping that we would suddenly just go easy on him and not actually be honest about him. Then we reviewed his book and it's like, yeah, this sucks and you're not a very good writer. And he thought we were just going to give him some kind of puff piece review and promote his books. And he was pissed off when we didn't do that. And now he's friends with Ethan Van Sciver. But things aren't really going well for him. And I don't mean his fucking him like goading Liam Gray into shutting down his Indiegogo account and that kind of shit. I mean, other stuff is going kind of bad in John Del Rose's life, but again, that's fucking nothing to do with me, and I'm glad to not have anything to do with people who were not honest in the first place. But that's another thing, is that Tim and Mark know we'll never be like that. We may talk too much and be too honest, but he knows we're not going to suddenly fucking try to sue somebody for some stupid bullshit or anything like that. So yeah, there's always going to be Laylee references where they can fit.
They'll be there forever. That is another thing. There's been
there will never be an embarrassing backfire
on one or two other people who come and go. Laylee is forever.
Laylee is yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff when it comes to the behind the scenes and the people in the Comicsgate and all that stuff. Like, I would like to review this book without bringing up Comicsgate. I know that Tim and Mark basically can't even acknowledge our video anymore because of all the stuff we mentioned in this. But again, our videos are, just to be honest, we talk about the stuff that they do either. Nobody talks about it otherwise. It never gets talked about, and everyone just acts like it never happened and never existed, even though we've personally been there to see it. And the people we know and are friends with have personally witnessed it, and nobody fucking talks about it otherwise. And I understand why Tim and Mark don't talk about it, because they're just keeping to their business. We keep to our business, but it's like every once in a while we just want to say something to get our minds across, and it happens to be when we are doing these videos. But again, if you want to check out like more of the deeper lore, our Subscribe Star is linked below already, and that has all of the goings on behind the scenes with Comicsgate that's been going on for years and years now. A lot of it condensed, just the full context and everything, and the screenshots, the receipts, if you will, the archive links and all that goofy shit. And all of that was on our original channel that got false flagged by people in Comicsgate, specifically somebody that Ethan Van Sciver paid to false flag our channel. And that's old.
Shows also how
proven a long
afraid
time
he
ago.
is about
If
it.
anyone says that didn't happen, it's because they're mentally ill. They're in
Because it
denial,
happened.
which is a mental illness.
It happened, and they're afraid.
Yes, they're afraid of the truth, so they have to say that didn't happen because they are, by nature, dishonest people. And that's another reason why they never address anything we say. Because, in fact, there was that one time, one of a wonderful classic moment, shitty webcomics classic, if you will, is the time we started streaming, and two people in Comicsgate tried to stream snipe us, and they both had to shut down after 5 minutes because we started saying things about Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate that they realized they didn't want anyone looking into. I think it was Cecil and Oz. They tried to stream snipe us and immediately shut their streams. They shut down the stream snipes and then shut their streams down, and both of them deleted their streams too. I think one of them made their stream private. The other person just straight up deleted their stream because we were being honest, and they could not address that. They couldn't address a single thing we were saying. Jim Turner mentions JDA was inevitably going to go back to supporting Ethan. It's in his nature to betray everyone he's associated with and create constant drama. Well, that's what he was always about, was just, he started making comics because he really just wanted to make drama, internet drama and YouTube drama and that kind of shit. And he figured, that was sort of an avenue he could take. So yeah, there's an element of that. There's more to it than that, but that's one of the elements. Shun Yungo also mentions it's also JDA's nature to accuse other people of causing drama as he starts and engages in drama. Yeah, which is why, he was JDA spent the past several months actually completely and utterly obsessed with Liam Gray. And only after we essentially revealed Liam Gray for what he was. Liam Gray would still be a part of Comicsgate and a friend of Ethan Van Sciver's and now JDA's right now, if it wasn't for us and what we revealed, what we did to reveal Liam Gray's real nature, which is that he's a schizo, and we ended up ripping his mind, which we've done to many other people in the past before Comicsgate ever existed. But we've also done it to JDA, and we've done it to Ethan Van Sciver. It's just that Liam couldn't handle it. Liam thought that nobody could ever criticize his comic. He thought that was impossible. He also didn't like that when you searched for his comic, you would find negative reviews of it, which is the funny thing is that Comicsgate tried that with us and it didn't work. But the thing is that, again, Comicsgate supporters aren't real comic readers. They're not really into comics. They don't really like comics. They like internet drama, first and foremost. That's all they like, really. And comics are just sort of a merchandise item that they purchase with the internet drama. That's what everyone in Comicsgate is actually, and we've been saying that since 2018, and they proved us right in response. Anyways, Jim Tuner mentions EVS JDA doesn't really believe in anything at all, a true hollow man, which is factually accurate and objectively quantified by many things. So wrapping up, that's why we like Kamen America. I mean, there's many, many reasons why I like Kamen America. I like Kamen America here as the sort of the brooding front man. She's the Bono. She's looking down to the street corner from her rooftop and saying, they're trying to shut us down. And then one old bald guy is just walking past, an old bald gay guy, perhaps. The sort of commission art and the bonus art and the fan art of Kamen America, not only growing, but it just looks fantastic. I love seeing it. The end several pages. Now here's the thing, is that there are several pages at the end of Kamen America that are like, you know, the commissions and fan art and sort of back covers in a way, but that's not in lieu of story. That's not, it's not like this is 60 pages, 60-page comic, and then the last 20 pages are just like concept art of how you do it. And it's like, who cares? You know, you're not telling a story, you know, in your comic when you're doing that. You're just padding. But yeah, this it ends with well, the comic doesn't just end with a nice wallpaper. This came with the this was one of the digital things that came with the PDF. Anyway, so yeah, the that is Kamen America 5. As usual, the continued escalation in as far as the art. The art actually has like visual escalation of the quality and the style. It's evolving a bit without you know, looking drastically different. It looks better, but the writing, most importantly, like a lot of people don't give proper they don't give the propers to Mark Pellegrini because his writing and his storytelling. Because one of the things I really like about it is it's about the whole team. The teams working together, and the teams working together, but the teams also doing their own thing. Like individual people have their own thing where like two of them are involved in big businesses on their own, and then Kamen America is sort of on her own, sort of separate from that, but it's about how they mesh and that kind of thing, and that's very well handled. It's shocking how many other comics you can read that don't even come close to the characterization, the solid characters that Kamen America has. That's and that's something that we also are able to attain in our own comics. It's why Tim and Mark like us and our comics so much. So again, if you want to check out the kind of comics that the Kamen America guys like, here again in the chat, but also I'll link it below in the description afterwards, is the Indiegogo for one of Tim and Mark's favorite comics. Literally, it's the new issue coming out very soon now. Work is going pretty well on it. So yeah, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10,
13 out of 10,
13 out of 10, 14 out of 10, 15.
It just keeps going up every few seconds.
16 out of 10, 17. Okay. Anyways, yeah, just another great. It's always good to, you know, every few months. It's sort of like the quarterly thing. It's like the new Kamen America, and it's not just us. Like I fucking always looking forward to it, but now you're seeing, like if you follow them on Twitter, you're seeing a big fucking contingent of people catching on to what we pointed out first, but. Again, it grew. It naturally did grow, and that's actually, and I liked that that was sort of addressed in this thing, is that it's a grassroots thing, the comic itself, and then sort of Carly and her Kamen America thing, and the team is sort of grassroots too, and needs to not be tied down by sort of the corporatized stuff. But they point out also, it's like corporate, you know, a corporation, a business is not inherently a bad thing. You know, it's still going to be people. It just depends on how you execute it, how you carry it out, what you do with it, that kind of thing.
And so kind of one of the things, it's actually one of the things, I don't know if it should even be mentioned, but just one of the team members is Russian. And it's like, oh, we're not going to pretend like all Russians are now the worst evil ever because the news media is telling me to.
Although this comic it was written and drawn before that stuff.
Well, of course.
I'm sure that's not going to even be a factor. It could be, though.
It was during the Trump stuff.
Yeah.
That's how long that's been going.
And there was an element of that.
That's the belief system.
Yeah, there was an element of that in the first issue, but it was very tangential in a way as well. It's sort of like how Cobra fills in for what could be real life countries, real life governments. That's the thing. Like that Red Letter Media just did that review of Darkman where they go into the tone about how it's like Rich Evans calls the tone of that comic book where it's very campy and very exaggerated and fantastical and sometimes just downright impossible, but it's treated seriously while presented in a bizarre fashion to create this tone
But
that
actually,
is
yeah, just
uniquely its
watching
own
that video,
thing.
that review, it just made me realize all the things that the movie does right. I don't even
Yeah.
love that movie, but it's amazing how many things the movie does right that other movies and certain other mediums still don't do right.
Yeah. And that's, again, Common America is something exactly like that. It's a perfect example of something like that, where it really nails the tone, where it's about something and it's saying something, but it's also about having fun and that kind of thing too. So,
I was watching specifically. There was that what was it? Where the take the fucking elephant scene.
oh yeah, that's right. The pink elephant. Where
I don't know if
yeah,
I linked that in our Discord, our wonderful Discord, where it was like I went and watched like a bunch of the clips from the clip channel.
we
It's like,
have the
oh, check this
movie.
out.
We have had Darkman on DVD for a while, and I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever actually watched the whole thing. But now I want to. Again,
yeah.
thanks.
Well,
That's the thing. YouTubers like Red Letter Media are the reason why I watch YouTube. It's not for for nerds or people pretending to be nerds complaining or making up fake complaints that they don't really care about. Like somebody
yeah, or they're not shutting down their channel because oh nobody likes our videos when we praise a movie. They just
yeah.
want to see me complain. So that's all I'm going to do from now on. It's like why? No, don't do
But
that.
that they don't even come to that realization. They're just leech tubers who just complain about stuff that they obviously don't care about. Like fucking most of them liked The Last Jedi. Like Ethan Van Sciver liked The Last Jedi when it came out, and then he saw that the public consensus was against the movie, so he deleted that original video and pretended now to hate the movie and bought a bunch of toys, like a child bought a bunch of toys to destroy them on video for internet attention. That's all some people care about. They don't care about telling good stories or making good comics. They just want internet attention. But us and Common America and Tim and Mark care about actually making good comics and telling good stories. And that's the difference between us and all of the other leech tubers that you'll see on YouTube. So, again, if you want to check that out, check out this comic. Well, it's out now, so you'll probably be able to buy it maybe on Amazon someday. But if you go to Iconic, we link Iconic Comics in every video because we're technically part of it because they published one of our comics. Or not published, but they sell a comic that has one of me and my brother's comics in it. Which is close enough for me. That's all I care about. But but you can also check out our comics, also linked below, and you can check out literally the new campaign that launched. We haven't even done a video about it because again, YouTube. I don't know. We haven't recorded a new video in like a month. We pre-recorded a bunch and they're just scheduled out, and we're gonna have to record some more where we're gonna talk about some web comics and that kind of shit. So we'll be covering that. But if you want to sort of get the deep lore of all the stuff that's been happening, you could have just watched our channel until we got false flagged by people who didn't like what we were saying. So you can check out our
Those
subscribe
are the kinds
card.
of channels I would want to watch.
If you want to follow I have a channel just for posting like trailers and stuff about our actual comics. There's a new channel called King Wolf Comics. I don't plan to really update it at all or regularly or whatever, but check if you go to I could link to that below too in the below description. But if you just search YouTube for King Wolf Comics, you'll see the channel. It's just got the 4 trailers on it, and I plan to maybe make another one, and that's where they'll be hosted, the stuff for our comics from then on. But if you want to keep up with stuff about reviewing comics, that's what our channel's always been about. So, all the way back since 2015. make sure to hit the subscribe. Make sure to subscribe.
Ring the like
and
button.
resubscribe.
Ring the like button. Smash the bell.
Hit the bell. Ring the bell. Smash the bell. And
Smash the bell.
donate to us on Subscribestar to find out all the stuff that other people don't want you finding out. The lying people, the lying leech tubers of the internet don't want you hearing about. And remember what everyone else says now, including the real experts in comics, is should have listened to Shitty Web.